Welcome to the Monsters Among Us podcast. This is episode 26, Lizard Man.
Today we're diving into South Carolina folklore. Some really chilling stuff.
Yeah, specifically the stories around the Lizard Man. We're basing this mostly on that Slaptam Mysteries YouTube video, The Lizard Man of South Carolina.
Right, and the goal is really to unpack the scary core of this cryptid legend from that account.
It's pretty wild how one single report can just explode into this huge, persistent myth, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the video points right back to June 1988. This teenager, Christopher Davis, 17 years old.
Out in Lee County near Skateboard Swamp, which, I mean, even the name sounds a bit ominous.
It really does. So let's get into that first encounter, the one that started it all. It's like the foundation for the fear.
Okay, so picture it. It's the middle of the night, maybe 2 a.m., super isolated road.
Yeah, pitch black probably.
Yeah.
And Christopher Davis, he's dealing with a flat tire, just stuck out there.
Talk about being vulnerable, and then, bam, out of the darkness comes this thing.
The video says he described it as, well, huge, maybe 7 feet tall.
Bipedal, walking on 2 legs.
Yeah.
And covered in green scales.
And the eyes, glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
That's a classic element that really ramps up the scare factor, just pure menace.
Totally. It taps into that primal fear, doesn't it? Being alone, facing something unknown and, well, monstrous.
Exactly. And it doesn't just stand there. The story gets way more intense.
Right, so Davis, obviously terrified, somehow manages to get the tire changed super fast. He jumps back in the car, thinking he's going to escape. But no, the creature actually chases him.
It pursues the car. That's not just seeing something weird. That's an attack.
And it apparently catches up, grabs onto the car roof or side mirror, something like that, physically latches on.
Can you imagine seeing that in your rearview mirror? So Davis, he thinks fast.
He slams on the brakes hard.
And the jolt throws the creature off the car.
Throws it off. And supposedly, there were scratches left on the car afterwards. That detail, whether totally accurate or not, adds this physical, scary layer. It makes it feel more real, you know? Tangible proof, almost. Like you said, you can picture the marks of the damage.
And that reported evidence, even if it's debated later, is often crucial in these early accounts. It gives the story legs.
So Davis doesn't just keep this horrifying experience to himself. He goes to the authorities.
Which is the spark, really. That takes it from a personal terror to something the public latches onto. The fear starts spreading.
And boy, did it spread. The video talks about a whole wave of sightings after Davis's report.
Yeah, it wasn't just that one spot anymore. Reports started coming in from other rural areas nearby.
Places around Skateboard Swamp, obviously, but also like Sumter and Kershaw counties.
Exactly. The swamp remained the epicenter of the fear, but the sightings branched out. It shows how legends can, well, colonize an area.
And were the descriptions similar? What were other people saying they saw?
Generally, yeah. Pretty consistent with Davis's account, which is interesting. Tall, bipedal, reptilian.
The green scales, the glowing red eyes again.
Those core features kept repeating.
Yeah.
Some people apparently mentioned a long tail or hearing these guttural growls. Just adds to the monster vibe.
Makes it sound even more aggressive, more threatening.
Definitely. Even with some variations, that central scary image of the lizard man really solidified.
Okay, so beyond eyewitness accounts, what about physical evidence? The video mentions damaged cars found near the swamp later that summer and fall.
Right. Reports of deep scratches, some dents, even alleged bite marks on vehicles. It sounds pretty dramatic.
Paints a picture of something violent happening out there.
It really does feed the fear. But, and this is big but, the video is clear that no definitive link was ever actually established.
So no proof it was the lizard man causing the damage.
None. You have to consider other possibilities. It's a swampy, wooded area. Could be bears, alligators maybe.
Or just vandalism, people messing around.
Exactly. Those explanations are way more mundane, but potentially more likely without hard evidence pointing to a, 7-foot lizard creature.
The lack of solid proof is a recurring theme here, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And then you have the media factor.
Oh, yeah. The video mentions local news, national, even international outlets picked up the story.
Which just poured gasoline on the fire, right? Amplified the fear, made the legend seem bigger, more credible, perhaps.
Creates a kind of feedback loop. More news means more people are thinking about it, maybe interpreting things differently, or
even making hoax claims for attention. The media buzz definitely played a huge role in cementing the lizard man's scary reputation.
What about those footprints? The 3-toed ones found near the swamp. That sounds like pretty specific evidence.
It did seem compelling at first.
Yeah.
Generate a lot of excitement. Maybe this was the proof. Added to the whole mystique.
Gotcha. There's always a but.
Well, yeah. Turns out some local teenagers later confessed to faking at least some of the prints.
Ah, that definitely hurts the credibility.
Big time. And for other prints, wildlife experts suggested they could just be misidentified tracks from known animals or even natural formations.
So, again, tantalizing, but ultimately inconclusive.
Exactly. It highlights just how tricky verifying this kind of evidence is in cryptozoology. Easy to find things that look weird, hard to prove what they are.
And photos, videos. Surely in the decades since, someone's captured something decent.
Well, the video touches on those too, but treats them, rightly, with a lot of skepticism.
Blurry, far away, questionable quality.
You guessed it. The usual problems.
Mm-hmm.
Low resolution, shaky camera work, and the high potential for hoaxes, or simply misidentifying something mundane.
Like a log or a shadow or someone in a suit.
Precisely. They fuel the scary stories, keep the legend alive online maybe, but they just don't hold up as definitive proof. It's always that fleeting glimpse.
So if we step back and look at this scientifically,
Yeah.
what do the experts, like biologists or reptile specialists, say?
The consensus is pretty clear, and the video reflects this.
Yeah.
There's no known reptile that fits the lizard man description.
Like biologically, a 7-foot bipedal reptile with glowing eyes just doesn't work.
Not based on anything known to science. The anatomy, the physiology, how it would have evolved.
Okay.
It presents huge biological problems.
Okay, but the video then throws in this really wild, kind of creepy theory from Reddit.
Ah, yes, the Carnifex carolinensis connection. The Carolina butcher.
Tell me about that. Why does that idea grab people? It sounds pretty far-fetched, linking it to a prehistoric creature.
It is highly speculative, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But what's compelling, purely from a storytelling angle, is that Carnifex was a real, large, predatory reptile.
That lived in that same general area, right? But millions of years ago.
Exactly. Late Triassic period. And while the size estimates may be 10 feet long, 5 feet tall at the hips, don't perfectly match the 7-foot bipedal lizard man.
Close enough to spark the imagination.
Close enough. Plus, some related crocodilomorphs might have been capable of bipedal movement sometimes. It creates this chilling narrative possibility. What if something ancient, something terrifying somehow survived?
Like a relic population hidden in the swamps all this time? That is a scary thought. More plausible than an alien lizard, maybe.
Well, plausible is a strong word, but it taps into that lost world trope. And it connects the modern fear to something potentially real, even if extinct.
The video also mentions possible links to older stories, like Native American legends.
Right, from tribes in the region like the Catawba, Cherokee, Yamasee, stories about reptilian beings, shapeshifters associated with swamps and waterways.
So the idea of a scary reptile creature in that area might actually be much older than 1988.
It's very possible. Folklore often builds on existing layers. These older legends could provide a kind of cultural template, a pre-existing fear in the landscape.
Making people perhaps more likely to interpret strange sightings as this reptilian monster.
Could be. The modern lizard man might just be the latest version of a very old fear, shaped by contemporary anxieties and Davis's specific account. It shows how history can echo in these legends.
It's fascinating how these scary swamp tales evolve. And now it's even become part of the local culture, right? The Lizardman Festival.
Yeah, in Bishopville, near the swamp. It's quite the transformation. What started as terrifying encounters.
Is now a reason for a party. Live music, food, a Lizardman 5K run.
Exactly. It shows how communities can kind of embrace their local monsters. It becomes part of their identity, a tourist draw even. People come hoping for a sighting or just to soak up the weird history.
From terrifying cryptid to town mascot almost, it's quite a journey for a scary story.
It really is, a testament to the enduring power of the legend.
So, wrapping this up, after looking at the scary stories, the sightings, the lack of proof, where does that leave the Lizard Man?
Still very much an enigma, wouldn't you say? A really potent piece of modern American folklore.
Definitely unsolved.
Yeah.
Despite all the buzz, the occasional new report that pops up.
There's just no definitive, concrete evidence, nothing science can point to and say, yes, that's it.
And that gap between the vivid, frightening stories and the lack of proof is where the mystery lives, I suppose.
Precisely. It forces you to think about fear, about belief, how stories take hold, and, that human fascination with what might be lurking just out of sight.
Especially in those dark, murky swamps. Makes you wonder, could something still be out there?
That's the question that keeps the legend alive, isn't it? That lingering possibility, however small.
Well, that is the end of another episode. Thanks for listening.